In this video, I'm going to show you something much more powerful. A fully parametric and dynamic timber truss family that can completely change the way you model roofs in Revit. This is not just another family. It already comes with all the cuts and notches solved, and more importantly, it adapts automatically. Just look at this. As the span changes, the number of panels updates automatically. No manual adjustments, no recalculations. So once you start using this, it's very hard to go back. All right, let me show you how it works, shall we?
All right, back in our main model, I'm going to load these custom truss families. Right now, I've got around 15 different ones, maybe even more by the time you're watching this, so if you haven't subscribed yet, this is a good moment. You'll get notified when I keep adding more. Now I'll select all of them and load them into the project. First thing to remember, these are not truss category families, so you won't find them under trusses. They're under structural framing, so if you expand that category, you'll see all of them there. Now, the first one I'm going to use is basically the same one we tried to build earlier, the standard truss. So from the project browser, I'll grab the standard truss and drag it into the plan view. As you can see, the insertion point is right at the center, so I'll tap the space bar to rotate it 90 degrees, and you can keep tapping it until it lines up properly. Now, because the insertion point is in the middle, I'm going to place it right along the ridge line, but close enough to the section view so we can actually see it when I click. There we go. Now I select it, and I'm going to isolate it using the glasses icon, just so we can clearly see what's going on. And this is where it clicks. All the connections are already solved. Everything's properly cut, properly notched, no manual fixing. That alone saves a massive amount of time. So now, all we need to do is select it, hit Edit Type, and start adjusting the parameters. I'll go step by step later, but for now I'll just set the slope that we already know, 17.5 degrees. Click OK. Exit the isolation, and just like that, the roof slope is spot on. Now I'm going to measure the span of the truss from the outside face of this wall to the outside face of the opposite one. And that gives me 12,500 millimeters. So I select the truss again, go to Edit Type, plug that value in, hit OK. And there you go. The truss adjusts perfectly. No fighting with height, no trial and error. Also notice this, when you hover over the truss, you'll see these little letters showing left and right sides. So for example, if I don't want the left eaves, I can just go to the Properties palette and turn it off. Or I can keep it and adjust its length. I can make it shorter like this, but let's put it back to 600. You can also add a cut and control the distance graphically using these blue arrows here. Look at how the truss adjusts automatically following all these changes. It's simply all driven by parameters. I'll leave everything as default for now and continue setting up the truss. Earlier we used a 64 by 114 member, so I'll stick with the same size here. I go to Edit Type again. This family is designed to be simple, so chords share the same size and webs share the same size. So I'll set both to 114 and then define the thickness as 64 millimeters. Now in the 3D view, we can see both families. But just to show you something powerful about these trusses, I'm going to move the original Revit truss closer to the new one. So I'll jump into the plan view and bring it right next to it. Now back in the section view, we can see the original truss behind the new one, and we can start comparing them. I'll change the length of this truss to 6,000. Now watch what happens. The entire truss updates automatically and still keeps the correct slope, but now for a 6,000 millimeters span. If you try to do the same with the original Revit truss, you'd have to adjust the height manually every time, or calculate the correct height and plug it into the parameter. Now take a look at this. The original truss, the one I'm selecting right now, has 6 panels. You can confirm that by selecting it and checking its name. Now if I select the senior Revit truss, it only has 4 panels. To see it more clearly, I'll go to the 3D view and isolate that family. And this is where it gets interesting. Right now it has 4 panels, but if I stretch it to, say, 10,000, it automatically updates to 6 panels, so you don't need multiple families depending on the span. One single family adapts to everything, and that's a big deal. All right, now that you've seen the difference, I'm going to delete the old Revit truss. We don't need it anymore. Now I'm going to take this one step further and set up global parameters to control the trusses. First one will be the span length. So I go to level 0 and I'll create 2 reference planes. Go to the structure tab and then choose reference plane. The first one goes right at the edge of this wall. Click here and extend it across. The second one goes on the opposite wall, same idea. Now, if these walls ever move, I want the reference planes to follow them, so I'll use the Align tool. Press Tab to grab the wall edge properly, make sure the lock is active, and then click the reference plane. You'll see that little lock icon. That means it's now constrained. I'll repeat the same on the other side, and now if I move this wall, the reference plane follows automatically, which means everything we control from here will stay consistent. Now that we have these reference planes, let's create an align dimension from one plane to the other. Then select the dimension, and up here at the top, you'll find this option called Label Dimension. Click on Create Parameter, and in this window, I'll call it Main Span, because later on, we'll have more than one. Now, this part is important. Make sure you tick Reporting Parameter. I'll explain why in a second, but for now, just hit OK. And as you can see, the dimension now shows this little pencil icon. That means it's a reporting parameter. If you ever want to check or manage it, just go to the Manage tab, Global Parameters, and you'll find it there along with any others we create. Now notice something, this parameter is locked, you can't edit it directly. But watch what happens if I move the wall, just like we did before. The dimension updates and the main span parameter updates as well. So it's reading the model instead of controlling it. And that's exactly what we want. Now, just so you see the difference, let me show you what happens if this is not a reporting parameter. I'll untick the box, and now I can actually type a value, let's say 11,000. As soon as I do that and go back to the plan, you can see the wall moves to match that dimension. And not only that, if I now move this wall manually, the opposite wall moves as well. So now you're not controlling it from the model anymore, you're controlling it from the parameter. And that's not what we want here, so I'll go back and switch it again to a reporting parameter. Now here's where this becomes really powerful. These parameters are perfect when you want multiple elements reacting to the same dimension. So in this case, I'm going to link the truss to this main span. I select the truss, go to Edit Type, and look for the truss span parameter. Instead of typing a value, I click this small button on the right, Associate Global Parameter. Now I just pick main span, click OK, and there we go. The truss now fits perfectly between the 2 reference planes. Now in theory, if I move the wall, the truss should update automatically, but something's not right. And this is a common mistake. I only locked one wall to the reference plane, not the other one. So to fix that, I'll align this wall as well. Use the Align tool, press Tab to grab the correct edge, make sure the lock is active, and click. Now both walls are properly constrained. Let me just adjust this section view a bit so we can see it clearly. And now if I move the wall, there you go. The truss updates automatically. Now there's one more thing happening here. And because this truss is designed to stay centered on the ridge, it keeps itself in the middle. So what I'm going to do next is improve the control a bit more. I'll undo back to before moving the wall. Then in the plan view, I'll copy one of the reference planes to the ridge position. Now I create another align dimension between these planes. And once I finish, you'll see this little EQ button. Click that, and now both sides stay perfectly equal. So no matter what happens, the ridge always stays centered. You can also double check here that the reference plane aligns with the ridge, so we're good. Now I'll switch to the level 1 plan and I'll hide this section view for now. If I select the truss, you'll notice I can still move it freely. It's not constrained yet, so I'll fix that. I use Align, select the ridge reference plane first, then hover over the truss until this line highlights. You can confirm it's the truss by the tooltip showing the family name. Click. Lock it. And now the truss should follow the ridge. Let's test it to see if it worked. If I move the reference plane, the truss follows perfectly and everything stays centered. That's exactly what we want. So I'll undo and go back to the original position. Now I'll jump back to level 0 and move the wall again. This time the correct one, the one we see in section. And now when I move it, you can see both supports stay perfectly aligned on the walls and the truss updates automatically. No manual fixing, no recalculating. Everything just works. So now that this setup is clear, I'm going to continue and create more reference planes to control the different truss spans across the roof. In this part of the roof, I can create 2 reference planes at the wall supports and 1 more in the middle for the ridge in this smaller roof. Remember to activate the equidistant option and select the align dimension to create the corresponding global parameter. Let's call it north span and make sure it is set as a reporting parameter. Now I simply repeat this process as many times as needed. One thing I just noticed is that the roof setup is not matching the DWG in this area. You can see the DWG shows the roof along this line. To fix it, I will create a line where the roof valley should be. Then I double click the roof to edit the footprint and move this line until it intersects correctly with the roof edge. Click OK, and now the valley is in the correct position. I will repeat the same on the opposite side. In this case, I will edit again, remove this portion, and make the roof square at this corner. You may still see a line in the DWG here, but that is an architectural model error, so we can ignore it. I will use the line work tool to make it invisible so it does not confuse us. Now the ridges and valleys are aligned correctly, but we still need to remove the unnecessary parts of the roof. For this, go to the Structure tab and select Shaft Opening. Use the rectangle option to draw the areas you want to cut. You can extend them slightly if needed. To check the result, go to the 3D view, unhide everything if needed, and select the shaft openings. Adjust their height so they cut only the roof. Back in the roof plan, you can see the roof is now correct. Finally, let's check if the rest of the roof is also correct. I'm going to select the roof and hide it. Now you can see the AutoCAD file and compare all these lines where slope changes, and all of them look fine to me. So I will go back to level 0 again. Now I will create more global parameters. Open the Global Parameters Manager, and before continuing, I will convert the last parameter into a reporting parameter. Apparently I forgot to do it before. Next, I create a new parameter called main chord depth. This one will not be a reporting parameter because I want to control it manually. I assign a value of 150 millimeters and create the rest in the same way. Now let's assign these values to the truss. Select the truss and go to Edit Type. Rename it to S1 for Standard Truss 1. If you plan to tag the trusses, update the type mark parameter as well. Then go to the Dimensions section and link the depth and thickness parameters to the global parameters we created. Truss span is already linked to main span, so we can continue to link the roof slope. Oh wait, I forgot to do that. Okay, I'll close this window and go to global parameters again to create the roof pitch parameter quickly. Notice that this time is an angle parameter. I am going to move it to the top, as this is the only parameter that we will use for all trusses in the roof. And I'll give it the 17.5 degrees value as well. Okay, sorry about that. Now let's go back to edit, type the truss, and I can link roof slope with the global parameter. Then core depth, web depth, and finally truss thickness. Click OK, and you can see in the section view now those dimensions reflected in the truss members. From here we can determine the exact roof height. I will move the roof to align with the top of the truss. However, this is not the final position because we need a 40mm gap for the buff battens. To be more precise, I will edit the roof structure and add a new layer. This layer represents the metal sheet, so I assign it as a finish layer. The battens layer remains structural with a thickness of 40mm and material set to air. Finish editing. Go back to the section view and align the roof again. Now the height is accurate. In the 3D view, I will apply transparency to the roof to better see the trusses underneath. If you are following the tutorial, you'll see a green layer like this. It means the DWG is visible. You can select it and hide it for clarity. Now I'll change the transparency back to a normal value. Let's say 70%. Maybe a little bit more. Let's make it 40%. Yep, that works better. Now the standard truss is complete. Back in the roof plan, I turn off thin line so I can see the truss here as a thick line. I'm going to start replicating the trusses, but first I need to locate this one right in the middle of the ridge, around here. However, to make it exact, I am going to use an aligned dimension from each side of the ridge to the truss, and then use equidistant option. Finally, I delete the dimension and remove constraints in case we need to move it later. From here, I can copy the trusses using a spacing of 900mm. In this area, we only use standard trusses. In the 3D view, everything looks good, but some trusses are not sitting correctly on the walls. In the roof plan, these are the ones here. To fix this, select a truss and identify its start and end points. As you can see, if you hover over the truss or select it, you will see this arrow embedded in the family. This tells you which is the start point, which is also the left side, and the end point or right side of the truss. In this case, the adjustment is in the end point, so select the affected trusses and remove the eaves on the right side. In the plan view, you can see that the line is now shorter than the others, so the plan view is accurate as well. Back in 3D, this looks better, but we still need a beam to support them. I will use a timber beam family, assign a temporary size, and model it along this line. It may not be visible in this view, but you can confirm it in 3D. Now we continue with the truncated trusses. From this point, I will use advanced trusses that you can download from the link. If you prefer the traditional method, you can jump to the video number 8, where I model the roof sheeting using curtain walls in a clean and simple way.